All right, so get ready, because today we are diving deep into a movie that I think a lot of people can relate to, especially if you've ever had your heart broken. 500 Days of Summer. Okay. And we've got the script.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really cool, because it gives us a chance to like go behind the scenes and really unpack the characters' thoughts and, you know, motivations and everything.
Yeah, you know, it is fascinating to see how a script can really kind of give you a totally different view on a film. You know, it's like you're getting to peek behind the curtain a little bit. You're understanding not just what's happening, but like why the characters are doing what they do.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Absolutely. And right from the beginning, the narrator kind of throws us a curveball. You know, it says, this is a story of boy meets girl, but this is not a love story.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about setting the stage for something unique. It's like they're telling us up front to ditch those rom-com expectations.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's you know, that's a bold move, I think. It's going against the grain. It's challenging those happily ever after narratives.
Right.
It's more about the messy reality of relationships, the self-discovery that can come from heartbreak, and how we sometimes project our own desires onto the people we love.
Okay, so let's meet our main dude, Tom Hansen. He's a greeting card writer. How ironic is that?
Oh, yeah.
And he's living in that sunny hipster heaven of San Francisco. And he's a total hopeless romantic, convinced that true love is out there just waiting for him. Where does this belief come from?
Well, the script kind of hints at a few sources. First, we've got his undying love for Thad British pop music.
Yeah.
Which honestly can make anyone a little melancholy.
Totally. And don't forget The Graduate, his slight misinterpretation of The Graduate. He seems to have taken away the wrong message from that classic film.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting is how the script uses this non-linear structure to kind of emphasize Tom's selective memory. It's not just telling the story out of order. It's actually revealing how he's romanticizing Summer and ignoring all the red flags along the way. Yeah, it's like he's crafting this perfect image of her in his mind, you know? Remember that scene where Tom lists all the things he loves about Summer? I mean, it's this adorable, quirky list, her crooked teeth, the scar on her neck, even how one eye is slightly higher than the other. He's turning these flaws into something beautiful, something to adore. It's all very sweet, but maybe also a little delusional.
Exactly. And then you have that montage of Tom's past relationships. Lisa Rayner, Wendy Wilson, Rebecca Miles, Amanda Heller. It begs the question, you know, is this a genuine belief in true love? Or is it just a defense mechanism? Is he afraid to be alone? And so he's clinging to this idea of a soulmate to avoid facing that possibility that maybe lasting love might not be in the cards for him.
Right. Yeah. It makes you wonder if he's actually looking for love or just escaping something else. And then into this whole mix walks Summer Finn, our leading lady. She's got this cool, effortless vibe.
Yeah.
You know, rocking a boyish haircut and working as Vance's assistant. And Tom is totally smitten. But his buddy Mackenzie, being a good friend, warns him and says, dude, I hear she's a bitch from hell.
Yeah, classic Mackenzie. Always the voice of reason.
Yeah.
But what I think is fascinating is how Summer almost immediately throws a wrench into Tom's romantic notions.
Yeah.
I mean, her iconic line, I don't even know what that word means. She's talking about love.
Yeah.
Completely challenges his entire belief system.
Yeah.
It's not about playing hard to get. She's genuinely questioning the whole concept of love.
Right. And, you know, she's not closed off or anything. I mean, they bond over their shared love for the Smiths at the office party. And then they have that cute moment in the elevator, you know, connecting over their favorite band. It's clear there's a spark. But Summer's perspective on love and relationships is just fundamentally different.
Absolutely. And I think this really comes to light at that scene in the karaoke bar. Tom's drunkenly belting out The Clash, Summer's rockin', Born to Run. And it's more than just their musical choice. It's a reflection of who they are.
Yeah.
As people, they have that deep conversation about love. And Summer, jaded by her parents' divorce, expresses her skepticism. It's like she's seen firsthand how easily love can crumble. She's a little hesitant to embrace it.
So you have Tom, who's all in, believing in destiny and soulmates. And then you have Summer, who is very hesitant, guarded, almost afraid of the word love. It's like they're speaking different languages when it comes to relationships.
Absolutely. And what does this say about their compatibility? Is it a recipe for disaster? Or can opposites attract and lead to growth and understanding.
Yeah.
That's what we are going to explore as we dig deeper.
Yeah. And the script does such a clever job of building this tension between them, this push and pull that's both exciting and a little bit unnerving. Like they end up kissing outside the bar and Tom's walking down the street like he's in a Hall & Oates music video, totally on cloud nine. But even in that moment of bliss, you kind of get the sense that trouble is brewing.
Yeah.
Their connection is undeniable, but their differences are just as striking.
It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
But you can't look away. And that's the genius of this script. Keeps you guessing. Are these two going to be able to bridge the gap between these two totally different ideas of what love is?
Okay, so before we dive into the next chapter of their roller coaster romance, let's just take a moment to appreciate how the script uses music to mirror Tom's emotional state. I mean, it's more than just a soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
It's a direct line into his heart.
It is. The upbeat poppy tunes during those happy moments create a real sense of euphoria and possibility.
Yeah.
And then when things start to go south, the music shifts to these very melancholy and introspective tracks that perfectly capture his descent into heartbreak. It's like the music is another character guiding us through this journey.
Totally. Okay, so we've got this intriguing setup. A hopeless romantic who's searching for the one, a girl who's wary of love and commitment, and a script that's constantly playing with time and perspective. Buckle up, because things are about to get really interesting as we delve into the next part of their story. Welcome back. So we left off with Tom and Summer's first kiss, which was really sweet, but also kind of gave us the sense that things were going to get complicated because they have such different views on love.
Yeah, and they definitely do get complicated. And I think it's interesting that you use that word ominous, because it really sets the tone for what's to come in this next part of their story.
Right.
The script takes us on this real roller coaster of emotions, mirroring the ups and downs of their relationship. And remember how we were talking about that nonlinear structure? Well, it really comes into play in this book.
Yeah, it's like the script is messing with our heads on purpose, jumping back and forth in time, showing us these glimpses of happiness, and then just ripping them away.
Yeah.
It's like what happens in real relationships. Totally. It's really wild. Like 1 minute they're dancing in a IKEA.
Yeah.
Totally lost in their own world. And then the next minute they're having this huge fight in a bar. It's a whiplash of emotion.
Oh, it totally is. And it keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly trying to piece together the timeline.
Right.
Like what led to their breakup. It really makes you feel like you're going through this heartbreak.
Yeah.
Along with Tom.
Yeah.
You feel the confusion and the pain as he's trying to make sense of it all.
So, okay, let's talk about that heartbreak, because the script really doesn't hold back in showing us the raw, messy aftermath of their split. And we see Tom go through all those classic stages of grief: denial, that anger, bargaining, depression, and hopefully eventually acceptance. But it is not a straightforward journey.
It's not. And this is where the script's use of humor really shines. So it's like this coping mechanism,
Yeah.
So a way to deal with the intense pain and sadness. Remember that scene where Tom is like lying in bed with Summer and he's trying to casually ask about her past boyfriends? He's trying to play it cool.
Oh, yeah.
But you can just tell that he is so jealous and insecure. It's funny, but it's also heartbreaking.
It's so true. It's like he's trying to convince himself that he doesn't care, but his words totally betray him. And Summer being Summer is totally evasive. Like, she doesn't want to delve into the past. She's all about living in the moment. And it just shows how their emotional needs are just totally misaligned.
Yeah. They're speaking different languages when it comes to relationships.
They really are.
And this just becomes even more clear. During that disastrous double date that Paul and Robin set up, Tom is clearly not over Summer. And his attempts to impress Allison just completely fall flat.
Oh, it is so awkward. It's painful to watch. Why is he even putting himself through this? Well, I think, he wants to prove to himself that he can move on, but also maybe there's a part of him that's hoping Summer will see him with another woman and realize what she's lost. But the reality is he is just not ready to let go. He is still so invested in this idea of them being together, even though it's so clearly not meant to be.
Yeah. And what's so relatable about Tom's journey is that he's not this perfect stoic hero. He makes mistakes.
Yeah.
He wallows in self-pity, and he acts out in ways that are both immature and totally understandable.
Yeah.
The script allows him to be flawed, to be human.
Yeah.
Which makes his eventual growth even more satisfying to watch.
Right. So, okay, let's talk about his attempts to cope with this breakup. The script gives us this montage of him trying all these self-help things, exercise, yoga, charity work, but it all just feels so forced.
It does. It's classic distraction. Instead of actually dealing with the pain, he's trying to distract himself from it.
Right.
And I love how the script uses these visual metaphors
Yeah.
to reflect his emotional state.
Yeah.
Like, remember that scene where he's walking down the street and the buildings are literally crumbling
Yeah.
around him.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a powerful image that conveys that utter devastation he's experiencing.
Right. His whole world is falling apart because this one person is no longer in his life.
Exactly. And it's not just the visuals, it's the music, the pacing, the way the dialogue shifts from that witty banter to these moments of just raw, unfiltered emotion. The script uses all these elements to create this really immersive experience of heartbreak. You feel Tom's pain on a visceral level.
You really do. It's like you're right there with him, just going through the motions, trying to find some sense of normalcy in this world that suddenly feels upside down.
Right.
And even in his attempts to move on, you can just see how deeply Summer is ingrained in his mind. Like he tries to redecorate his apartment. He's literally painting over the memories of their time together. But then he ends up creating this giant mural of her face on his wall.
It's like he's trying to get rid of her.
Yeah.
But the more he tries to forget her, the more she becomes this presence in his life.
Right.
It's this vicious cycle
Yeah.
of longing and regret.
Yeah.
That feeling of being haunted
Yeah.
by the ghost of a past relationship.
Oh, totally. It's like you can't escape those memories, no matter how hard you try. And even when Tom tries to date other women, it's clear he's still so hung up on Summer. Remember that disastrous date with Allison that ends with him having a total meltdown at a karaoke bar?
Oh, yeah. That scene is so pivotal.
Yeah.
It's like this cathartic release for him. He's finally letting out all that pent-up pain and frustration.
Right.
But it also reveals just how deeply he's internalized all these pressures surrounding love and relationships.
Yeah.
His drunken rendition of Train in Vain. It's like a cry for help.
It really is.
A declaration of defeat.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, I've tried everything, followed all the rules, and it still didn't work out. Which makes you wonder, are those rules even valid? Is there some secret formula for finding love, or is it all just chance?
Right. And that's where the script takes this really interesting turn. Because it starts to question those very narratives about love. The ones we've been fed by movies, music, even greeting cards.
Oh, yeah. Remember that scene in Vance's office? Tom's greeting card ideas have taken a very dark turn.
Yeah.
I mean, he's written gems like, roses are red, violets are blue, fuck you, whore, and congratulations on your new baby. Guess that's it for hanging out. Nice knowing you, buddy.
Oh, my God.
It's clear that he's reached his breaking point.
He has. He's seeing the absurdity of it all.
Totally.
The way these greeting cards try to package these really complex emotions into these neat little platitudes.
Right.
He's calling out the hypocrisy of this whole industry that profits off of the highs and lows of love,
Right.
while also perpetuating these unrealistic expectations.
And then he says that line that perfectly captures his disillusionment. Maybe there's no such thing as love. Maybe it's just galugu.
Yeah, it's funny,
Yeah.
but it's also profound. Like he's throwing his hands up and saying, I don't even know what to believe anymore.
Right.
But there's also this hint of liberation in his words.
Yeah.
It's like he's breaking free from all those societal constraints
Yeah.
that have been holding him back.
And then this newfound freedom leads him to a pretty drastic decision. He quits his job. It's a bold move, a declaration of independence from the corporate world
Yeah.
and all the expectations that come with it.
It is. It's like this symbolic shedding of his old self. He's rejecting the path he's been on.
Yeah.
He's ready for a fresh start.
And we find him heartbroken, jobless, and feeling completely lost. But amidst all this chaos,
Yeah.
a glimmer of hope emerges. It's Rachel's bat mitzvah,
Yeah.
an event that forces Tom to step outside of his self-imposed isolation and reconnect with family and friends. It's a reminder that even in those darkest moments, there's still love and support in the people who care about us.
It is. That bat mitzvah scene is such a turning point.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of human connection
Right.
and the healing power of community.
Right.
And it's here that he has this chance encounter with Summer.
Right.
It's brief,
Right.
a little awkward,
Yeah.
and filled with these unspoken emotions.
Yeah.
Summer seems genuinely happy, while Tom is clearly still struggling,
Right.
it shows just how far apart they've grown.
Yeah.
Summer has moved on.
Right.
Tom is still holding on to the past.
Right.
But it's his conversation with Rachel, his very wise sister,
Yeah.
that sends him on this path towards healing.
Yeah. She gives him this much needed dose of tough love.
Yeah.
You know, she challenges his whole idealized view of Summer.
And she says something like, I know you think she was the perfect girl for you, but I don't. And it's such a powerful statement that cuts through all of Tom's romanticized memories.
Yeah.
And it forces him to face the reality of their incompatibility.
Exactly.
And I love how the script frames this conversation. They're dancing at the bat mitzvah,
Right.
surrounded by joy and celebration, but there's this undercurrent of sadness and reflection
Yeah.
in their words.
It's like they're acknowledging the bittersweet nature of life, how even in moments of happiness, there's always this element of loss
Yeah.
and longing.
It's true. It's a beautiful scene that speaks to the complexity of human emotions. And it's Rachel's advice that sticks with Tom. She just simply says, there are plenty of other fish in the sea. Such a simple statement,
Right.
but it carries so much weight.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that life goes on,
Right.
that there's always hope for new beginnings.
Okay, but before we get to Tom's eventual healing, the script throws us one final curveball. Remember that scene at the deli where Paul Mackenzie casually dropped the bomb that Summer is getting married?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we get to relive that moment this time from Tom's perspective.
It's a brilliant use of that nonlinear structure, you know, taking us back to that moment to really show us how devastating it was for Tom.
Right.
I mean, his reaction is raw
Oh.
and visceral and completely understandable.
You can see the hope draining from his face. Like his entire world is collapsing.
It is.
It's a crushing blow
Yeah.
that forces him to confront just how much he was in denial.
Yeah. And as he's processing this, the script uses those visual metaphors again
Right.
to really amplify his emotional turmoil. I mean, the world literally falls apart around him.
Yeah.
Buildings crumble, streets collapse, and he's just left standing there
Yeah.
amidst the ruins
Yeah.
of his shattered expectations.
It's so powerful. It's like that destruction around him mirrors what he's going through internally.
Yeah.
Like the dismantling of his idealized version of Summer and the realization that they were never meant to be.
It's a powerful image of heart capture.
It really is.
But there's also this sense of liberation. It's like he's hit rock bottom,
Yeah.
but he's recognizing that this could be a starting point for something new.
So we leave Tom at this crossroads, standing at the precipice of change. Will he succumb to despair? Or will he rise from the ashes of this heartbreak, stronger and wiser? That's the question we'll explore in the final chapter of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into 500 Days of Summer.
So we left off with Tom at like his absolute lowest point. I mean, the world is literally crumbling around him as he's trying to deal with the news that Summer's getting married. But you know, the thing about hitting rock bottom is that sometimes it's the only way to rebuild.
It's true. And that's exactly what happens in this last part of the film. You know, we see Tom starting to pick up the pieces and embark on this journey of healing and self-discovery.
Yeah.
The script does a really great job of showing this. Very subtle shift from despair to hope.
Yeah. So we find Tom at his sister's bat mitzvah, Rachel's bat mitzvah. He's surrounded by family and friends.
Celebrating this joyous occasion, but you can just tell that he's still carrying the weight of his heartbreak. You know, the script doesn't shy away from showing his vulnerability. He's putting on a brave face, but you can see in his forced smile and his conversations that he's still hurting.
Yeah, he's definitely not the same carefree, optimistic Tom that we met at the beginning of the film.
Right.
You know, the past 500 days have taken their toll.
Yeah.
But there is this sense that something is changing within him.
Right. It's like he's finally starting to see the light
Yeah.
at the end of the tunnel, even if he's not quite there yet. And then he has that awkward encounter with Summer. It's brief, almost like a passing dream, but it says so much
Yeah.
about how they've both changed. You know, Summer seems genuinely happy, and Tom's still wrestling with his feelings. It's a reminder that moving on sometimes means growing in different directions.
Totally. And, you know, I love how the script handles this scene. It doesn't give you any easy answers or resolutions.
Right.
It just presents their encounter.
Yeah.
And lets the viewer decide what it means.
Yeah.
But there is a sense of closure, like recognizing that this chapter has come to an end and it's time for them to move on
Yeah.
to what's next.
So speaking of closure, Tom's conversation with Rachel is such a turning point for him. You know, she's the one who challenges his view of summer earlier in the film and gives him that dose of tough love that he really needs.
Yeah. And she does it again here, reminding him that he's basically been clinging to a fantasy.
Right.
This version of Summer that never really existed.
Yeah.
She even tells him straight up, I know you think she was the perfect girl for you. I don't.
Right.
It's such a powerful line that forces him to see how incompatible they really were.
Yeah, and I love how the script frames this. They're dancing at the bat mitzvah, surrounded by all this joy and celebration, but their words have this undercurrent of sadness and reflection. It's like they're acknowledging that bittersweet part of life, where even when you're happy, there's still some loss and longing.
It's true. It's a beautiful scene. It really shows how complex human emotions can be.
Totally. And then Rachel gives him that advice.
Right.
There are plenty of other fish in the sea.
Yeah. Simple, but so true.
Yeah, and it carries so much weight. You can see that hope starting to come back for Tom. You know, he's still working through everything, but there's this sense of acceptance that he's ready to let go of the past.
Right.
And I love how the script takes us back to that scene in the park where Summer breaks up with Tom. But this time we see it through a different lens. We've had Rachel's wisdom and Tom's own growth.
It's a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
We're able to pick up on those subtle things we might have missed before.
Yeah.
You know, the miscommunication.
Yeah.
The missed opportunities.
Right.
It makes you realize that Summer wasn't just this heartless person. She was just trying to be honest about her feelings.
Right.
Tom was blinded by this perfect image he had of her.
Yeah.
He wasn't really seeing her for who she was.
So true. And it's a reminder that even those really painful relationships can teach us so much about ourselves and what we want in a partner. And with this new understanding, Tom is finally able to move on. He stops romanticizing the past and starts appreciating the present moment. And we see that in his actions. He starts drawing again, you know, rediscovering that passion for architecture, which had been kind of dormant during his time with Summer.
Yeah. It's like he's reclaiming his identity outside of the relationship.
And this leads him to a job interview at an architectural firm. It's a really nerve-wracking scene, but also exciting because he's taking a chance on this new path.
Right. It could lead to something great.
And just when he's about to give up hope, he spots this beautiful woman across the room. And for a second, you think it's going to be Summer.
Right.
It's going to get sucked back in. But then the narrator says this line that I think perfectly captures the message of the whole film. You can't ascribe great cosmic significance to a simple earthly event. Coincidence. That's all anything ever is.
That's so true.
And it's with this new outlook that Tom decides to take a leap of faith. He introduces himself to the woman and asks her out for coffee. And she says yes. And as they're shaking hands, we learn her name, Autumn.
I love that. Autumn. A time of change and transition. It's the perfect name.
So perfect.
For this new chapter in Tom's life.
Yeah. And the film ends with Tom genuinely smiling.
Yeah.
He's not that same heartbroken guy from the beginning. He's grown, he's learned, and he's finally ready to embrace all the complexities of life and love on his own terms.
500 Days of Summer is a film that stays with you. You know, it makes you think about your own experiences with love and heartbreak. And it's a reminder that sometimes the best love stories aren't about finding that one perfect person, but about finding yourself.
So well said. And that's what I think makes this deep dive so interesting. We've explored these themes, the characters, and how the script uses these storytelling techniques to create such a powerful experience.
We've been through it all, the heartbreak, the humor, and ultimately, I think, a message of hope and resilience.
I think so too.
I hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for 500 Days of Summer, and maybe even made you think about your own journey with love and life.
That's what it's all about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
When we explore another fascinating topic,